Hello and welcome, incredible flourishers and soulful scribblers. Today we have got the sublime Sarah Raad joining us. She is a beacon for creative women seeking peace, purpose, and a whole lot of presence. Sarah is the magic making mind behind Gather and Grow, a sanctuary where creative souls in the messy middles of life come home to bloom with intention and embrace joy. She's not just a coach, she's a mindset maestro who helps guide women toward alignment, calm, and success that feels like them. When she's not working her inner world alchemy, Sarah spends her days steering creative women through one-on-one coaching, group programs, workshops, retreats, and courses, because her passion is watching you wake up to what lights you up. Whether you're craving clarity in life's chaos or deep seasonal self-care, perhaps even a journaling prompt to spark your soul, Sarah's words feel like a cozy heart hug. So I am very pleased to welcome the sublime Sarah. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. That was a very beautiful introduction.
You're very welcome. I would love to hear from you. How are you flourishing today?
Oh, how am I flourishing today? Well, today's quite a calm day, I think. I'm speaking to you.
Mm.
I do have one of my Spark sessions this afternoon, which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I do sort of flourish, I guess, in my work and in creating things. So I'm sort of reinventing quite a lot of my business model at the moment as well. So that feels quite flourishy because, yeah, it's just kind of got me in quite a juicy sort of creative zone, which is quite nice. And it is, although as you just said, this will probably be going out in the autumn. It's the summer holidays when we're recording, and so our house always goes on a bit of a go slow, and it's even slower this year because my child just did his exams, his GCSEs, so it feels like he's already been off forever, and there's still 3 weeks to go apparently. So. So yeah, I am. Yeah.
It's really amazing. I love that you have found that incredible kind of convergence of business and joy in what lights you up. Like, how does that feel? How for you?
It feels great, because I mean, I did have a career at one point,
Mm.
which I did actually love for quite a few years. I worked in the creative sector, the cultural sector. So I worked it was always marketing, PR type roles, but it was galleries, museums, dance company I worked for, a new writing theatre company. And yeah, I did flourish in that for a while actually. Purely, I think, through the love of like the end result, which was kind of getting people to come and see something that I also thought was amazing. But the actual work itself and the environment, particularly, sometimes not so much. I think like a lot of people in my 20s, I didn't really know who I was, and early 30s, and it sort of gradually dawned on me actually that I wasn't this extrovert that I sort of presented myself as, because that's kind of what you do when you work in marketing PR. You get very, you become the extrovert in the room, and I wasn't an extrovert, and I was like, oh, maybe this is why I'm really burnt out all the time. And I am. So I've been on this kind of voyage of discovering things about myself for a long time, and I think every little piece of the puzzle has led me closer to creating the life that I'm now living, and I think we'll continue to, because there's always work to do, isn't there? But yeah, just sort of so discovering that I'm actually introverted, discovering that I'm actually, in terms of, if you've heard of the highly sensitive person spectrum, I'm like really high on that. So working in loud, busy offices with lots of things going off and bright lighting and stuff just wasn't for me at all. So the more I've learned about what really does light me up and what does really bring me joy, and actually like where my real superpowers are, and the further away I've kind of moved from the situations, environments and types of people that don't suit me, it just kind of naturally brings you to a point where everything does feel quite right for me, so I could just quite happily do what I'm doing now, I think, for a really long time, because I
Mm.
feel like I've found, what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that so much, and it's often something that I mean, certainly personally, I'll speak for myself, is something that I would really love to find that incredible. I don't know that I have found it yet. Because I'm multi-passionate, I think, and it can be difficult. I can get distracted quite
Mm,
easily. I'm just like, what's
same.
that? And I want to do that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. How does that fit for you? So how have you managed as a multi-passionate to kind of, yeah, like put it all together? Maybe you haven't, I don't
Well,
know.
think and this is a really recent thing.
Mm,
This is a this year realization. Even though I've had this fed back to me for quite a long time now, and I've also sort of known it, but like somehow, like something, and it doesn't really sink at the level that it needs to. I am just an ideas person, so I've always been the person that comes up with the ideas. When I'm coaching with clients, I've got like a million ideas for them. Several people have started businesses off the back of an idea that I gave to them. I just love ideas, but because I love ideas for myself, I can get bored with things. So if I can come up with an idea and go, oh, this is great, and I can sort of start it, and sometimes I finish it, or sometimes I do it for a while, but eventually I'll kind of go, no, don't like this anymore. So I think there's two things really. Number one, that's okay. It's okay to do that, I think, as long as you've got the stamina for constantly coming up with a
mm,
new thing or slightly reinventing yourself. But the second thing is for me to kind of take a step back and think, well, but if that's what you do, why don't you just create something that is that? So what I'm
yeah.
experimenting at the moment with is this thing that I'm calling a spark session at the moment. But knowing me, I'll probably rename it next year because I'll come up with a better name. But at the moment, that's what it is. And it is a really sort of quick and dirty, have my brain for an hour, give me what you're thinking, or if you're not thinking anything but you need to be thinking, I'll do the thinking for you. And it's great. I've done a few already and it's just like super fun. And I just go, oh, at the end of it, like, and then it's just done. So it hasn't got any of the things that I don't like, the following up, the sort of this now, oh, now I have to lead this person through how they
Mm,
implement all of this or like alchemize all of this. It's just that kind of one hit of my brain. So yeah, I kind of feel like I should have been doing that for a really long time and I haven't been. And where I'm not kind of what I'm not great at is I'm not great at finishing anything, Lisa. I'll be really honest with you. When I did have one of those organizational jobs, we were assessed by some management consultant that came in just to make sure that our team was, going to work and all the rest of it. And they used a system called Belbin, and I am a plant in Belbin, which means that I come up with ideas. But I scored really, really lowly to non-existently on the completer finisher thing because because I just don't. And at the time, it was absolutely fine, Lisa, because I had a team, and my at the time, my box office manager, my marketing officer, they had much more of that bit of,
mm,
so it's fine. So I could go, hey, why don't we do this? And kind of come up with the overall plan and strategy and go, off you go. And then people make it happen. But
yeah.
obviously, when you're running your own business, you have to make things happen. So what I've also learned is that I have to make things really, really easy. And that is one of my favorite questions to ask a coaching client. How can we make this easy? Because I think a lot of the time we're just tying ourselves up in knots, aren't we? Trying to overcomplicate things or come up with the perfect system or how do all these things fit together? And I just think, no, let's make it easy. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, is almost like stripping apart all these kind of complicated ideas and layers of the work that I do,
Yeah.
and thinking for myself and also for other people, yeah, how do we make this easy? So I think when you are multi passionate, I think you can definitely do that, and people can have, well, you can have multiple careers now in terms of
Yeah.
just have one after the other. So maybe think, right, I'm going to do this for a bit. I've had this idea, for a business or something I want to pursue. the thing is to remember you can't do everything at once. So it's about ordering things, and it's about kind of having separate time. Almost some people that I know that do several different things will have they will do them at the same time, but they'll have blocks of time, so they're not constantly dotting around between the different areas of their life. But then sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, I would really like to do X, but it's not, you're not in the right season for it. I'm coaching a woman at the moment where this is very much the case, where there is definitely a thing that she wants to do and she would be brilliant at it, and she's already had a taste of it and it's all fine, but she's not in the season to do that because of family responsibilities and just the stage she's at. So I think sometimes we have to think about the season of life that we're in and think, well, is this the right season for me to start a new business, write a book, do whatever? Or is that something that I can legitimately, not in a kind of procrastinating, putting it off way, but just think, I'd be stupid to try and write a book this year. I'd be mad to, swap from this career to this career at this point in life, because this whole idea that we can just have it all and do anything we want at any time, I don't know that that's completely true all of the time. I think you've got to find that point, haven't you, between, am I putting things off, am I procrastinating, am I just dicking around basically, or am I just actually holding back because this isn't the right time for this and this is something I need to revisit. So that's something I've had to learn, because I do want to do everything. And that's where I've gone wrong in the past, where I've just started so many things and then very quickly became overwhelmed because I'm trying to do something like really quite big in the wrong season of life, essentially.
I was just, as you mentioned season, I was about to ask you the question, how do seasons fit into your work? And you've explained that really well. How does in a I mean, obviously there are seasons for, maybe it is right, like writing a book, and there are times for it. I mean, you and I both have children, and we know that, there's a large amount of energy that goes into also supporting them, and so perhaps writing a book at the same time they're doing their GCSEs is not a good idea, whatever it might be. But it's kind of on a yearly or even like monthly kind of timeline. How do seasons fit in to your life?
Yeah, well, there's definitely, I mean, you're absolutely right. If you kind of like pull out and do a sort of a wider view of your life, and I do say this when I'm coaching women that have smaller children, because obviously you speak with the benefit of experience. I only have one child, and he's 16 next
Yeah.
week. And I can kind of speak to people who have kids that are like 3, 7, 10, and go, this is the season that you're in. Because yeah, if you're doing parenting right, it does take up a lot of time. And unfortunately, even in the best, most equal relationships, I think, not even just in terms of task, but in terms of mental energy, children take up a lot of time. The sort of the kind of the thinking about children, the emotional support, all that kind of thing. So it's a very time consuming stage to be in. So you're right. Don't. I would have been mad to kind of turn the page on this year at the beginning and think, yeah, Jake's got his GCSEs in May and I'm going to write a book this spring. That would have been brilliant, because I had hands-on, full-on support mum for quite a long time. And so that would have been wrong. But within a year, I think there are definite seasons for me. Now, I know that everyone's different, but again, it's about recognizing what your seasons are and what happens to your energy and drive and need to rest and all of those things. So for me, I get really energetic from about, I would say, April to midsummer. Then I go really floppy. So I'm in a bit of a floppy stage at the moment. Although it's weird at the minute, I feel quite energetic, and we'll come on to another reason for that maybe shortly. But normally this is the time where I start thinking about what I want to do in autumn. So there is a bit of planning, but it all feels quite calm. And then I have another shot of activity and burst of energy in that real back to school, September, October. by the time we're sort of sliding towards the end of November, my energy levels have really dipped. So again, I get to sort of, I would say December, I'm literally just hanging on in there till Christmas. And then January, February feel like really good fallow seasons where I'm just sort of composting and pottering and thinking, but I don't have lots of like thrust, if you see what I mean. So yeah, and I think because I'm menopausal now, so I think when I wasn't menopausal, I definitely had
Yeah.
almost like a monthly rhythm as well. My monthly rhythm has gone.
Yeah.
However, we are quite moon conscious in this house because I learned, again, it's a having kids thing. I learned quite early on that there is a lot of two different kinds of energy go on in our house. There's a real kind of manic, bonkers, not quite so much now, but when Jake was younger, that's when he would you would ask him a question, he would sing you the answer. It was all just a bit crazy, and that was new moon. And then full
Mm.
moon brings a sort of more of a moody, more of a truculent thing. So I'm aware of that in myself as well. I mean, I sometimes get quite if I ever find myself feeling overwhelmed or like suddenly tearful or just like, oh God, I feel really, what is going on? I look at my diary and I go, oh yeah, it's the moon. It's almost always the moon. And I do have them in my calendar, and I still kind of forget to plan for the fact that
Yeah.
everyone's just going to go a little bit off kilter for a couple of days, twice a
Yeah.
month. But yeah, I do love to take notice of that because years ago, I would have thought that was absolute nonsense. And I know there's no scientific evidence to back it up. However, I just know it's true. And, you know, a child doesn't know when the mood, and even now, we'll kind of look at moods going on or arguments that happen and we'll go, oh, yeah, it's the moon. It always happens around that time. If there's ever going to be a big confrontation or some kind of very emotional thing going on,
Mm.
it's the moon. It's not at the other times of the month. So I'm a firm believer in the moon as a season, like a
Yeah.
mini season
Yeah.
within the month. Yeah, but I do think it's really important to just be mindful and not try to push yourself to be what everyone else is. So I think a lot of people are coming to this idea that no one's got loads of energy in January. So this idea of the whole New Year's resolution, new year, new you, let's hit the ground running. Come on, go, go, go in like January. Nobody wants to do that. Hardly anybody wants to do that. And I think particularly the women that I work with, I would be crazy, for example, from a business perspective, I would be a bit nuts, I think, to launch something in January because I don't think anybody would buy it. I think they'd just go, oh, it sounds nice, Sarah, but no. But if I launched exactly the same thing in March, it would work better because people are then going, oh, yeah. Or September's like, yeah, I've got the kids back to school, got my life back. Let's go. Let's go for a few months anyway. And then, let's just collapse around
Yeah.
Christmas. So, yeah, I don't think everyone's got the same rhythm as me, but I do think that people are becoming more, tuned into both on like a monthly, a yearly basis, certainly where their energy is. And I think, again, when you pull out and it comes back to this like times of flourishing, where are you going to really, I mean, we should be flourishing, hopefully, in all seasons of our life, but we can only flourish in certain ways, can't we? So it depends on the energy that we've got at that time, it depends where we are in our cycle, maybe, it depends on all the other things that are going on in that season of our life as well that might affect the time, the focus, and the energy that we have for
Mm.
everything else. Yeah.
And I mean, flourishing for me, it is all about the journey. It's not an end point because when I've talked to some women, they're like, well, I'm at some point I will flourish, as in it's this kind of distant,
Mm,
far off thing that perhaps is difficult for them to think of, but I like to think of it as something that can happen, and it obviously isn't all the time. It can't be all the time. That's just not how we work as humans. Flowers, plants, they don't flourish all the time. They need downtime. The seasons, even in tropical parts, it's not like they're blooming at all times. They might be green all the time, the evergreens, but it does have some kind of rhythm. And I love that. Is it something that you work with the women that you work with? Is that something that you've been aware of, or is it something you just notice mostly in your own life?
I do notice it in my own life, but I do sort of bring it up with people as well, especially when I can spot it. So if someone does feel, they seem quite low energy, or we're talking about the best time to do something, we'll talk about that. And it's something that I've written about as well. Because I think, the more we can sort of understand the best times to do things, and when we might be setting ourselves up for a failure because either we're not in the zone or the people that we're trying to engage with won't be. So even if I was like a Duracell bunny in January, I still don't think it would be a good time to launch something, because I might be ready for it, but I don't think anyone else would be. So it's kind of that awareness, isn't it? And I suppose within a family setting, it's the same, isn't it? Like, you may feel like, I love it when it starts getting dark earlier, and I'm a real autumn winter person, but my husband and son really don't like that. So that's a real kind of difference between us. And I kind of start getting a bit like, oh, this is like, it's getting a bit cozy, come on. And they're just like, oh, it kind of really brings them down. So I think just, being aware of your own seasons, and also being aware of the seasons that someone else might be in around you as well, is really, it's just all good self-knowledge, isn't it? And I think it's this, as I was saying about understanding yourself better. Someone did my human design profile recently, and that was just kind of, wow, that's accurate. And this woman didn't know me, so she couldn't possibly impose, versions of Sarah on it. She'd met me once for like less than an hour. I'm sure she'd slightly got the measure of me, but and she actually also did it for my husband and son, who she's never had any contact with, and they were both super accurate as well. And I just think gathering self-knowledge and reflecting on who you really are is a really important part of flourishing, isn't it? Because you can't make yourself flourish in an environment that isn't for you, or by doing something that doesn't align with you. So for example, I did really like that work that I did when I worked in the cultural sector. There was a big bit of it that I loved, and I loved the sort of philosophically, I love the idea of helping people to engage with arts and culture, and enriching people's lives and all of that. But the way that has to be delivered was not right for me. So I couldn't have done that for the rest of my life. And I did keep sort of semi-burning out, and I was always getting kind of really ill after big projects and things. I would just crash. So it just didn't work for me in terms of who I am as a person. So I had to find a way to get to replicate that sense of joy, which is really about connecting people with important things in a different way. And I guess that's kind of what I've eventually created with my with my coaching business, and the other the work that I do around that.
How significant has the whole menopause transition been for you? Like, what's changed in your life?
Well, do you know, I don't know really. It's funny, isn't it? Because part of you thinks, is it the menopause? Is it just being a bit older? What is that? I was really sort of uninformed, particularly about perimenopause, and I didn't really know that was a thing. So that almost like happened without me noticing that that's what it was. So my big thing was that I developed anxiety, which I'd never really had before, and suddenly I was just super anxious. I was waking up going almost like from the so I had this whole first hour of the day that was awful every day, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on. But typical me, didn't really do anything about it, never went to the doctors, just thought, oh well, I now have anxiety, get on with it.
This is my life now.
This is my life now. And I spoke to girlfriends about it and stuff, and a few of them kind of had suffered with anxiety on and off anyway. So I didn't feel like, I'm super alone, nobody else gets anxious. I kind of knew it was a thing. And because it was quite manageable, because it was just this first bit of the morning and I spoke to my husband and son about it really early on, because I kind of was very overwhelmed. I would almost get a bit tearful if somebody dropped something. I would just be like, shit. I just was very So they just kind of helped me through it because they just sort of adapted. So it was just, I mean, Jake was, oh, I don't know how old Jake was at the time. He was probably about 8 when it started. And I remember Dom saying, look, mum just needs it super calm in the morning. It really needs to be quiet. Let's not have any drama. You know, we just sort of, we had like real kind of systems for everybody to like be able to get ready in as smooth a way as possible. And so we just kind of got through it. And that was my main symptom, really. And then, um, yeah, I just think because I know a lot of women go, oh, and when I hit the menopause, I just suddenly didn't give a shit anymore, and that's when I really stepped into my power. And I just thought, oh no, I did that when I was about 40. Like I'd already done that. I'd already done that kind of, who cares what other people think, and let me do my own thing, and just being, yeah. I don't think I've ever really I've never been a massive people pleaser, and that had certainly tailed off like way before I got into that perimenopause, menopause bit of life. So I don't know. It's an interesting question, and I do sort of reflect on it sometimes. Maybe it's because, as well, anxiety aside, which wasn't great, I have like physically and mentally got through it relatively easily. I would say I haven't, it hasn't kind of absolutely floored me. I had a real lack of energy, but yeah, that was the energy thing I was going to say to you. Was I've recently started taking a supplement that is a functional mushroom supplement, which I eat in little gummies every morning, and that I didn't expect it to work. But you see an advert on Instagram, you think, what the hell? I can always cancel it if it's rubbish. Um,
Yeah.
and it did really, really work. So I think I've always just been quite proactive about finding ways around whatever, yeah, like whatever issue that season is bringing me. So um, prior to the mushroom gummies, I just thought, well, I need to prioritize sleep, don't I? Clearly, I just need sleep. So I will go to bed before my husband. I will rest at weekends. I just got into a real phase of going, I'm not in a season for high energy, you know, just keep going. I just thought, no, I'm just going to kind of start removing things that I don't want to do and reprioritizing my energy levels and my need for rest and sleep over other things. And so I just kind of managed it in that way. But I do think I've also got off lightly. I wouldn't want anyone what watching this to think, oh, it's all right for you. Like I do know some people go through absolute hell. And I think I'm lucky that I haven't. And I suppose I've taken advantage of that by just having to proactively tweak things rather
Mm.
than, feeling like I need a big solution.
And maybe also because you had already a sense of how you operate well and under what conditions, and you seemed, if you said around 40, you were just like over a whole lot of shit. That perhaps has helped you. I've read a lot about perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause and this whole how it impacts us. And I have a list, a really, really, really long list of things that I've had, but I haven't had them all at once. And it's kind of like, I'm like, oh, and I've got that now. Oh, great. I'll add that to the list of things. And I mean, I do, like you, I haven't rushed off to the doctor or anything, but I do manage it by managing my energy and saying no, because saying no is an important part of that. And
Mm.
um, being a people pleaser, I think learning to say goodbye to that in your life will help you through that period. Um, but it's so personal and it's so situational and even geographical. I mean, coming from Australia, we have different seasons. It's flipped on its head, and the climate is different. And I've seen a difference just from me in the northern and southern hemisphere with energy flows. But I still think it is, even though it's summer in January. You were saying that January people don't want to start things. It's the same in Australia. We're kind of like hot and lying down on the beach somewhere. Here it's more like under a blanket and you don't want to go outside because it's dark and get nasty.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it is interesting. I'm always kind of thinking globally just because I have this other part of me and my family that are on the opposite side.
Mm.
And whether how that impacts all of it as well, how we're feeling, how we're functioning, what we're doing. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. What are you unlearning in this chapter of your life?
Ooh, what am I unlearning? Well, I am unlearning, yeah, I guess the idea that I can do lots of things all at the same time. I'm really not sure why it's taken me so long to learn that, Lisa, because that's been really obvious ever since I start. Well, I mean, I could even take that back to childhood, really, if I wanted to. I've never been a multitasker, and I've always been somebody that likes to sort of, dive deep into something, and you can only dive deep into so much at once. So I think I'm unlearning this sort of, you know, whether it's a sort of a belief that I can sort of do lots of things at once, or just that is the way that it has to be as well. I think because we live in a very like on culture, don't we, where everybody's always on now, and there's so much available to us in terms of content, for want of a better word. We can sort of and we can do lots more things than people used to be able to do. It's I think there's sort of culturally, there's probably a bit of a sort of a need to unlearn the idea that we don't need all of the things all of the time. So I think that's something that I'm still, yeah, and just unlearning this idea that in order to, I suppose it goes through this difference between being an ideas person and being someone that like is a much more of a process following through get to the end, that you don't have to be like that. I think for years I kind of I wore my lack of complete finisher as a bit of a badge of dishonor. If you see what I mean, like
Yeah,
you're made to feel flaky and yeah, like you haven't got like willpower. I hate that word anyway. I haven't got any willpower, you haven't got any stamina to do the things. And also at the flip side, the bit that I am really good at, which is like generating ideas, isn't always valued by people. And I think it isn't really valued even by people that are that people. So I think that's one of the reasons that I sort of missed this trick for years, is that I couldn't quite grasp that this ability that I have to both come up with ideas, see ideas in a practical way and go, well, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea, or this idea could only work if X, Y, and Z, or you can combine those two ideas. I didn't realize that lots of people can't do that. So I didn't
yeah,
see it as a special skill that I had. So it's almost a bit like, when you realize that people can't do something that you can, that's really
yeah,
innate, and you think, really? Like you don't do that? I learned this thing, it wasn't recently actually, it was a couple of years ago, it blew my mind, that some people have no inner voice, they have no stream of conscious like bit in their head that's always chatting to them. And
yeah,
so like a fact that really stops you in your tracks, and you think, wow, that's really interesting. So I think we've all got that to unlearn, haven't we? That there are things about us that are not, that everyone not everyone has what we have,
mm,
and in good and bad ways. But I think I learned a long time ago that people are really different to me, and people think different things to me, and people have different opinions to me, and that's fine. And sort of not everybody has to agree with me or want things to be the way that I want to be. But I think there was this other level of not seeing, yeah, the bits of me that are actually really valuable, um,
mm,
not recognizing that they were quite specific to me, or to my type, my sort of personality, or whatever type, because
yeah,
there are lots of, I'm sure when people do Belbin, there's lots of
mm,
plants, and there's lots of complete finishers, and there's lots of all the other roles. But I am who I am, and I think that's the season that I'm in at the moment, is really recognizing that that's the thing. for me to focus on, and that's the thing for me to explore with other people. So rather than trying to fit myself into someone who can do that, but then also somehow tries to force that strategy forward, like, just let it go, Sarah. You're no good at that, and you don't like it, so don't do it.
Yeah, I think part of life is saying yes to things, and the things that you know are going to be good for you, but also letting go of those things that maybe society has kind of instilled in us that you should be doing this, like cut should out, kick that to the curb, and kind of say no. I am actually really curious about human design. I love human design. I've been reading about it, deep diving into it for a couple of years. Are you happy to share your human design? I'm a 5-1 generator with the cross of separation. If that means anything to anyone listening, if you're curious, I might drop a human design link in the. If you're curious about human design, are you happy to share your human design?
Insofar as I can remember it, because that's
yeah.
actually one bit of menopause is my ability to retain information has gone to absolute shit. But I can remember that I'm a projector.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I am somebody who is perfect for what I do. Like when I was like,
I was thinking,
of course I'm a projector, because
exactly.
my success comes from helping other people. You know, so it's not. It's about. It's basically being a coach is a brilliant projector career, because you're there to allow other people to reflect on themselves and make decisions and all the rest of it. And so it's perfect in that way. And the one thing that came out of it that made me go, oh, and again, a sort of another, maybe this really changes partially how I do things, is that in business terms anyway, in life, but I was kind of interpreting it in terms of my business. Projectors, my bit of the projector anyway, was about waiting to be invited to do things. So in a marketing sense, that's, I think, even though I'm from a complete marketing background, I did marketing for years. After I left my career in the arts, I became a marketing consultant within my husband's branding agency. And so I do know marketing, and I don't think marketing's icky at all, but I find it quite a frustrating process for me. And I think when I was chatting to Tina, who did my human design, she you would love her actually, she said that basically that was just, it wasn't about me not doing any marketing, but it was more, I just need to show up as who I, so I guess it's what I'm doing today. You just need to show up as who you are, share what you think, and wait for people to say, can I have some of that, Sarah? Rather than going, here's a thing, do you want it? And I just thought, I like that. I like that. So it's almost like being a lighthouse rather than being a billboard.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a big difference to that. And that, I love the idea of just showing up as you are. Like that. It doesn't surprise me that you're a projector. I know enough about it that I was thinking, you are not a generator.
I'm so not generator. There was another bit where the, I think it was, maybe it was something to do with the spleen area, but it was essentially, she went, this is the bit where you don't finish things because you've got no way of generating energy in this part of your design. So everything you do is up here. And that's why it's not that I can't finish things, because I do, but it's it's not where my focus should be. And if I put all my focus there, I will be constantly trying to like stoke a fire that isn't really there, and that would probably lead to burnout. Whereas if I kind of keep my focus in the area where the energy was flowing. So it was so interesting, because I just thought, I don't understand this, and I haven't really tried to understand it. I don't know what the origins of human design are. I find the idea that something is just purely based on your date and time of birth and where you were born a bit ridiculous, if I'm being honest. But because Tina offered to do my human design for me, and I'm just a curious being, I let her do it. And then I read it and was just like, well, this just is true though, isn't it? So it doesn't matter in a way. I don't really mind. And all of these things, I've never been assessed. So far we've talked about Belbin. We've now got human design. I did Myers-Briggs. I am, oh God, what am I in that? Is it
Yeah,
INFP?
those. Yeah.
And I recently did some work with Denise Duffield Thomas on the
Yeah.
sacred money archetypes, and I'm an alchemist. None of this comes as a surprise to me. I just read everything and go, of course. I mean, I even read with the sacred money archetype. Sorry for people that don't know what it is. I think there's 7 or
I'll
8
put the link
different
through.
types.
Denise is
Yeah.
another Aussie.
I love Denise. And I did the
Correct.
quiz and I was just like, of course I am. Like, there was no way I was going to be anything else. When I read the descriptions, I was like, no, 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 no. And that was really interesting because not only did it make me go, yeah, you're just an ideas person, Sarah. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to be more like strategic than you actually are. Just use the magic, get the magic out there. And it was so useful, but also, again, with the people in your life. So whether that's people that you engage in relationships with, that you become friends with, that you have as clients, collaborators, all those kind of things. It just helps you make sense, doesn't it, of why you gel with certain people, why you don't gel, why you wouldn't be good working in a certain situation, why that person wouldn't make a really good business partner for you or whatever, or they would complement you in some way, so that would be great. I just love all these different ways we have, if we want to, of understanding ourselves. And even though I'm like very open-minded, but I'm also quite skeptical. So I meet everything with a level of really. But then I'll do it because I think, well, why not? And then I'm often convinced that this slightly crazy thing seems to have some value to it. I did EFT is a really good example of this. So years and years and years ago, practically pre-internet, not quite, but almost. No, it wasn't. It was a little bit after that. But I'd done my coaching qualifications. I met this guy called John. John and I used to chat online quite a bit. He was lovely, and he was really into this idea of EFT. He wasn't an EFT practitioner, but his friend was. So he would go along and help him, like with his workshops and stuff. And I was having a bit of a tough time at the moment. At that time, you might want to put a trigger warning for this because I was experiencing recurrent miscarriage. So I was in the throes of this, and I was really. I remember having this call with John, and he was like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just really angry. I'm really angry all the time. Like, people get pregnant, they don't even want to get pregnant. They have a baby, they didn't even plan that." And I was just getting myself very and he could see that there was a lot of emotional trauma. And he said, "Would you be willing to try EFT?" And he said, "I'm going to put some stuff in the post." So that's when it was like he actually sent me things in the post. Put some stuff in the post for you, Sarah. And I'm just going to send you a really simple instruction. And if you're interested, give it a go. So I was like, okay. So when this stuff came, I remember reading through it and just going, how ridiculous. I'm not doing this. Going, like, oh, what? And I remember discussing it with my husband, and he was like, yeah, that sounds ridiculous. And I was like, it does, doesn't it? And I said, but John sent it to me, so I'm going to do it. But me being me, rather than, this is really interesting. Every time I say this, I go, I still don't understand why I did this. Me being me, instead of doing the tapping on the emotional trauma that I was going through as someone that couldn't get and remain pregnant, I decided that I was going to do it on a physical thing. So I read the thing, and it sent me all this information about where it came from, how the technique had been developed, what it was used for. And that it was used a lot for emotional trauma, PTSD, but also for physical symptoms. And I thought, right, I'm going to, because it was almost like I think it was like because it was tangible. Yeah. So also on the back of this, I'd had this problem with one of my shoulders for years. And it started when I swapped jobs. I remember that because they immediately assessed my workplace to see whether it was something to do with the height of my chair. But this shoulder just got worse and worse and worse. I went to the doctors. I went and got scanned, all the things. And they couldn't find a medical reason for it. But nonetheless, it was like I had this sort of semi-frozen shoulder for about 5 years. It was a long time. And I was quite a young woman at the time. I was in my early 30s, and I thought, God, am I just going to be like this for like the rest of my life? This is kind of awful. But I thought I'd had physio. I'd had chiro, I'd done loads of things. So, you know, some days it was better than others, but it was debilitating. Sometimes I couldn't take a top off over my head and all the rest of it. So anyway, I decided to do EFT on that because then I could prove.
Yeah, that's right. If it could cure your physical thing, then
I remember saying to Dot, he stayed downstairs, my husband, I went, right, I'm going to go upstairs, I'm going to do this thing, wish me luck kind of thing. And we were both sort of laughing about it, to the point where I was sat on the edge of my bed before I did the EFT sequence going, right, having a word with myself, thinking, John's been really kind, he sent you this stuff, stop it. And like, do the sensible thing. So you had to assess yourself first. And it was like, so where is, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your pain at the moment? I was like, it's about a 7. Because I had a bit of movement, but it was quite sore. Anyway, I did it. Sorry, this is a very long-winded way of telling this story. I did it, and it disappeared.
Holy shit.
I suddenly had not even like residual whatever, no. And I was just like, oh my God. So I sat on my bed and I was kind of like,
having had 2 frozen shoulders, I can say that is a miracle. Wow.
So I ran downstairs and Dom I think he was playing a computer game at the time on his PlayStation or whatever, and I was like, look. And he was like, what? And I was like, I can do this and I can do this. And he was like, oh. And I sat down and I was like, it's probably going to go back though, isn't it? And he was like, yeah, probably. Anyway, so anyway, I was like, what is that? Anyway, the next day I woke up, nothing, completely fine again. Nothing. I think after about a week, I started to feel, and I was like, oh no, it hasn't lasted. And Dom just went, well, just do the thing again. And I was like, oh yeah. So I did it again. And it went away again. Yeah. And then it just never came back. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. So I went from being like, this is mad, and having to have a little word with myself because I was, you know, not being respectful of EFT or John's time. And then I sort of just started doing. So I've never like trained in it. I don't do it on other people because I think that would be completely unprofessional. I haven't had any training. But I do
people to someone. I mean,
I do tell people about it all the time. And there's a guy that, and it's going to sound really even worse, but it's a guy on YouTube that I absolutely love. So I use his videos, and I do. You were saying that you've got Allegra Chapman. I pointed Allegra in this guy's direction because I was like, yeah, you would like this. And now I just completely believe in it. And again, I don't know how that works, but when I thought about it, I kind of thought, right, okay, so let's dial this back. Yeah. So that started when within a couple of weeks of starting that job. And then I thought, oh, I hated that job. And the minute that I got into that job, I realized that I'd made a mistake. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the woman I was being managed by, and I sort of made my peace with it, and it took me about 2 years to kind of get out of that job and find another one. And there were good bits to that job, but that immediate first 2 months was, oh shit, I've made a big mistake. And I think that feeling just got locked in my shoulder and stayed there for years. So even when I went to another job, it didn't disappear because it was still there, and I needed to.
The body keeps the score.
Yeah.
That's what Nicole is right. Your body really does keep track of all of those emotional things that we haven't dealt with. Yeah. EFT is a great way, emotional freedom technique, a great way of getting rid of it.
Yeah. It's so yeah. So I mean, kind of on your theme of flourishing, I guess, even though I am this kind of skeptical person, I thank myself that I'm also curious enough to never let my skepticism get in the way. So I had a similar experience when somebody did, the first time I had Reiki, it was distance Reiki. And again, I just thought, don't be silly. But this woman offered it to me, and I thought, I can't be. She was a beautiful woman. She was called Alexa, and she lived in London, and I was up in the northeast of England. But yet again, I was really skeptical. She told me to just lie in a bed at a certain time, and all the sensations that I had, she then called me up within 5 minutes. She took her notes and she said, don't say anything. I'm going to tell you what happened from my end. And it was exactly the same. She was
Amazing.
kind of, I could feel her scooping energy away from my abdomen. There was something going on with my feet where they went really hot.
Yeah.
And there's no way that didn't
Mm.
happen, but I have no explanation for it.
And maybe we don't need to. Like part of me, I love science. It's great, but we can't explain everything. There's a whole lot, and we are only just developing tools to even measure our brain. That hasn't been that long. All of the energy fields that we have in our body, our heart energy, I'm all for those things. Like you, I'm open and curious, and I think skepticism is good to have, but I think being open to what we perhaps don't know about, and just because we don't know about it doesn't mean it isn't
Mm,
there, or isn't real. And I love that. I love that that's part of flourishing for you. It's certainly part of flourishing for me as well.
yeah,
That
I
being
just
open and curious and trying things. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then you go on to the next thing.
yeah. But then some of those things have really helped me to flourish, I think, because particularly like say EFT, I tap regularly now, and I I know that, you know, if I am feeling like fear about something, or I'm feeling, you know, whatever, I can just tap on it, and I know that I can dial it down, so I can use that as a way. So again, I was using that with the anxiety. That kind of came to me. I was like, oh, after a while. Anyway, I thought, oh, I could use EFT for this. So I went and found some anxiety tapping around that. And I noticed that, yeah, I can get myself from what feels like a 9 to a 6 quite easily. And a 6 feels manageable, and 9 doesn't feel manageable. So definitely, yeah, part of flourishing for me is using all of these kind of tools. And watching my mindset as well. So with something like the anxiety, I don't know what that is. It possibly is you know, there may be something physically kicking that off, but it's for me to manage that,
Mm.
but also other things which are common to people's lives, like imposter syndrome coming up over and over again, as it does for people, periods of self doubt, fears around certain topics, or just fear, you know, just feeling quite fearful in general. These are states of mind that you can work on, and you can use things like, you know, EFT and all the rest of it, but you can also, yeah, like just be curious about yourself and try to learn about, well, why am I procrastinating? Because procrastinating isn't a thing. People talk about it like it's got a name, hasn't it? It's just avoidance of an uncomfortable feeling.
Mm.
So if you find yourself procrastinating, you have to think, so what's this thing that I'm avoiding? Why am I doing that? What is the feeling I'm avoiding? Is it boredom? Is it being out of my comfort zone? Is it fear of being judged by people? Is it fear of not being good enough? Like, what is it? Because procrastination in itself isn't a thing. It's just a term for how we avoid
Mm.
a feeling that we don't want to feel. You know?
Even where it shows up in our bodies.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes that's how you know, isn't it? The amount of people that go, I'm not stressed, and they genuinely don't feel stressed, but everything about them would suggest that
Mm.
they are. So they're obviously quite disconnected from what's going on in their body, and what, you know, and they're sort of, because they're able to block out what's going on in their mind or emotionally, and the only way it's showing up is in their body.
Connect that your body has intelligence. Because that
Hmm.
it took me a long time to sort of understand that I wasn't just like a flesh suit carrying around my brain. For a long time, that was just, I'm a flesh suit and my brain is amazing. And yeah, it's really been the last kind of
Yeah.
decade that I've learned that my body has so much intelligence and has told me
Yeah.
so many things over the years. So
Because your intuition shows up in your body, doesn't it? And that's a big topic of mine, is using your intuition and making decisions intuitively rather than logically.
I
So
have
I
a question around that because I was somebody who I would read that, use your intuition, and I'd be like, well, how the fuck do I do that? So
yeah.
what's your, if I'm somebody who isn't really in touch with my body and d has no connection to my intuition, not consciously anyway, what
Mm.
would you suggest?
Well, I would suggest starting to pay attention, like making it a bit of a practice to notice what's going on in your brain that you can recognize as an emotion. Like I feel, I feel happy, I feel um, worried, I feel anxious, whatever, and starting to notice that there will be something going on in your body. Um, and intuition about decisions, about other people, just when you are in situations, being cute, like really sort of putting that emphasis on the physical sensations as well as what you might be logically thinking about something. It's like it's just a way of, it's an ongoing process, really, I think, to both notice that, but then also give yourself permission to believe that it's true. Because I think I reposted something on Substack by Eva Wiseman recently where she'd been scammed. And, by her own admission throughout the whole process, it was like she knew that was going, at a certain level, she knew that what was going on, but she didn't allow herself to pay attention to it because she was distracted, because she didn't want to be rude to the person on the other end of the phone, because she didn't want to make a fuss. So she knew there was something where she kind of immediately, and I don't think she's necessarily someone that's done lots of work on her intuition or awareness, so that was something that she did know, but she chose to override it in the moment. She chose to layer it with social acceptance type stuff, I think really is a good way.
Maybe it's confidence too of listening to that. We're not necessarily taught that, and
No.
as children, we probably have that. We're much more connected to it, but that can still be overridden when adults are saying, "Oh, don't be silly," and that's
Yeah.
not true. And when you've had that feeling about somebody, it could be a person or a situation where this is just not right, and a kid's body is screaming, and they're told, "No, no, 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 be quiet," like don't
Yeah.
listen. So
Yeah.
it gets overridden young, and so we're kind of disconnected from that as we get older. Have to relearn. Maybe it's another unlearning. Maybe unlearning that whole layer allows us to disconnect from our intuition.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the I think awareness is such an important thing. When I talk to people about the inner critic, for example,
Mm.
they don't want to know this because they want a really easy solution. And this is an easy solution, but it's also quite difficult. Is that 90%, I think, of the way that we deal with the inner critic is by actually recognizing that we have one and being aware of it. So actually being able to go, oh, that thing's talking again. That's not me. That's my inner critic. Because that's almost all the work that you need to do. But that in itself is actually quite tricky. So there's no like quick way of going, this is how you get rid of your inner critic. There is a simple, well, it's not simple. There is a clear, almost like 2-step process to it. 3-step actually. First of all, believe that it's a thing, that you have one and that it's not you. 2, recognize it. 3, learn to ignore it. Learn to put it one side. So that's a very kind of, it's a clear, easy 3-step process, but it's not easy because when we're in the moment of a situation where our inner critic pops up, we are usually quite emotionally stimulated. We're maybe in our body feeling things as well. So we've gone hot, we've gone cold, we're feeling tense, we're feeling fatigued, we're feeling whatever. So this thing kind of just shows up and we're not recognizing it. So again, it's because the client said this to me recently. So now I know that I've got this. Like, how do I,
When will it go away?
oh, but yeah, I was like, it won't go away. It will never go away. So all you can do is just become over time, because you're not going to be able to do this in like a week. Over time, just become really good at recognizing it so that the gap between it starting to talk and you shutting it up isn't 2 days. If you got it down to 2 hours, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? And eventually you might be able to get it down to 5 minutes.
And it might be really, really quiet in the end, where it's not popping up much at all. When it does, you know straight away. It's that I think sometimes we can do all of this work, and it is about regularly engaging with those things, regularly feeling them, and regularly questioning ourselves. And you get to a realization, oh, that voice is nicer now. I'm much kinder to myself. I'm encouraging to myself, and it's kind of a nice space to be in.
Yeah. But it is that awareness, because I think with inner critics, they can change as well. Like they will quieten down, but also I think there's a sort of a slight stage of resistance as well, where maybe your inner critic will change tack a little bit. So an inner critic that was quite harsh and mean might become a little bit more persuasive.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it is the awareness thing, and it's I love, I'd love people to. Wouldn't it be great if everyone knew that they had an inner critic, and then there was this kind of global agreement that we would all spot each other's as well, because it's hard to spot your own, but it's easy to spot someone else's. So I could say to you, Lisa, I think that's your inner critic talking, and you'd be like, yeah, it is. And I might be able to save you a whole day of rabbit hole of, oh my God, this is why I'm so shit at everything, just by going, I think that's your inner critic. And you're going, oh God, thanks for that. You can imagine if everybody could spot these
Yes,
things for each other, or to
it would
say,
be
oh,
beautiful.
it looks like you're making a decision with your head there. Like, should we just go into our body and see what's in there? If we could all just be coaches
Yeah,
all the time with each other. Yeah, it would be great, because you're right, the body does have so much to tell us. And I think, again, when I did this lovely little mini course a while ago that I did live about goal setting, but it was called aligned goal setting, because it was just about trying not just to make a goal that sounds like the right thing to do or seems like the logical next step, but to actually make something that is really going to be in alignment with what it is you actually want. And a lot of that was about, I used kind of a lot of journaling. There was a bit of visualizing going on in that, because I wanted people to be able to just be able to really reflect before they go, oh, here's an idea, let's do this. I think, again, with that unlearning, one of my unlearnings is that as a coach, I don't have to become some kind of like expert goal person or do it in the way that other people do. As a coach, that is, when you're doing coaching training anyway, that's a big part of the message, is that you're there to help people like set a goal and achieve it, which of course you are to a certain extent, but actually, I don't even know if I believe that, to be honest. I kind of feel like I'm much more.
I reckon a bloke made that up.
Yeah, I reckon a bloke did. With all their smart.
Sounds like a bloke thing.
It sounds like a boy thing. Yeah, because it's just like, it's actually much easier to make goals, to set goals and achieve them, if you've set the right goal in the first place, and you don't have your inner critic like kiboshing you every 5 minutes, and you're not kind of really suffering with imposter syndrome. So really, there's a whole lot more to setting a goal than just like, here's a little process, go through it and get to the end. Because you've got to ask, like, why people don't get to the end. Like, where do you fall down? And I'm always curious with that with people. If you set a goal, at what point do you, if you're someone that sets and doesn't achieve goals, what point do you fall down? Because that's the point that's what we need to look at. That's the obstacle, because we all intellectually know how to set a goal and achieve it, and we can see it, and then we just don't, because the hurdle is the obstacles are us. There are bits of us, like, yes, stuff can happen in the outside world, can't it, that might get you off track with something, or you might realize that something isn't quite possible now, or you have to do something in a different way. You get some new information, that's all fine. But most of the time, the thing that gets in the way of us achieving what we want is us. Like, we create an obstacle for ourselves. So, yeah.
This has been a beautiful, amazing, incredible, over an hour chat.
I can't believe we've been talking for that long. Well, I can actually. I could just easily talk for another hour. It would be so easy for me to do that.
Maybe we'll have another one. We can do another one at the end of the year and talk about some different things. It would be lovely.
That would be fun. Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. We have covered so many things. It's been so enlightening and so wonderful to hear how you work and how it fits into your life and how you are fucking flourishing, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. And yeah, I was aware halfway through, I just thought, oh my God, like, Sarah, how many different things are you going to talk about?
I love it, because what it shows is that there are multiple ways of learning about ourselves, multiple ways of doing the thing that lights us up, and that we're all different, and all of that information, so many of the things that you've mentioned I also do myself, which is a really nice thing to know. Some of those things I didn't know about you, Sarah. So if anybody has heard Sarah speaking and just absolutely loves what she's talking about and wants to get in touch with her, please see the show notes. All her links will be there. It is magical to be on her newsletter list. I love what she sends out into the world. So thank you so much, Sarah, for today and for sharing your insights with all of these fucking flourishing humans that are listening.
Oh, I love it. And I love what you're doing as well, Lisa. I think it's just such important work, isn't it? And I think what I really love about what you're doing and the way you're doing it is it just feels really authentic. I just feel like you are, you're not just sort of like trying to catch a wave or something. It's that this is what you are supposed to be doing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how everything grows for you, and really enjoying the idea of listening to your podcast, because I already know that Alexa Chapman is your first person and Alexa is brilliant. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really exciting podcast for people to listen to, and I'll certainly be getting you on my Apple podcast as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Sarah, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for yours.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fucking Flourishing podcast, where we say a bold yes to growth, mess, and midlife magic. If you love this chat, make sure you're subscribed, share it with your fellow queenagers, and perhaps leave a little love in the form of a review that helps more fabulous humans find me. Until next time, keep flourishing your way, no fluff, no filters.